Taylor Tomlinson has this great joke. She's bipolar. She talks about getting on medicine and it's like someone holding you down going, shh. Like you're still on the floor freaking out, but someone's keeping you from losing it completely. My name is Casey Catherine Moore, and I am a bipolar poet, teaching artist, and writing coach in Washington, D.C. Spend most of my time teaching at Georgetown University for Arts for the Aging, and I think I identify the most with being a poet because it is the most central to who I am as a person. I've been writing poetry since I was 8 years old, and I think that writing has saved my life. It's saved other people's lives, and I've seen how magical it is in the classroom and in workshops, and I just want to bring it to more people.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Casey Catherine Moore. We are at Busboys and Poets Brooklyn for open mic. You guys ready for a great open mic? Me too.
I was diagnosed very young. I was 18 years old, just finished high school. I was first misdiagnosed with depression and put on an SSRI, which is a nightmare. So it sent me into really intense mania. I didn't know what was going on, but I kept taking the medicine and eventually stopped because I'm like, this is making me worse. And then was diagnosed bipolar, got on a mood stabilizer, and it got better. And I think when I was younger, I thought, okay, I have this thing, I take this medicine, and I'm supposed to be fine. And for most of my life, I kept thinking, as long as I'm doing that, I should be fine. And if I'm not fine, I'm doing something wrong. And then when I got older, I realized that bipolar is like, I don't know, it's like an ocean, right? Like there's tides and there's movement and you're kind of always moving. And the consistent thing about it is that motion. And now I see it as a really integral, beautiful part of myself. And also just the things that your brain can do that other people can't do. I mean, when you have psychosis, it's like, I don't know, you can make connections that you can't when you're in your right mind. And it's not good to have psychosis, but it's also, I think, partly because I can access that. I've accessed madness. I've accessed the deep depths of despair, the highest highs of emotion, the angriest of anger. I just can relate to really anybody. I'm just very empathetic, and I think that's a superpower.
Hello. Welcome. I was wondering if you guys wanted to be on the open mic list or if we're just watching tonight. You're probably going to go on a little earlier than anticipated.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. I'm excited generally. I'm a little bit nervous always because you just want it to be a good show. But not crippling nerves. I get more nervous if it's something like a big talk where the eyes are all on me, but really an open mic isn't about me as much as about creating a really good space for other people to showcase them. And I'll do some poems and that kind of thing too, but it's really just about creating a safe space, and that's what I did as a teacher for so long that it's kind of second nature. Right? We're afraid of nothing except what's outside. It's freezing out there. So we're going to stay warm and we're going to stay kind in here and accept people for who they are and how they show up. Does that sound good to you guys?
Being on stage is great. Everything gets quiet. I'm sometimes nervous before a show about people being there, but I feel walking on generally ready, confident. I control the narrative. It's my space.
Please make some noise for Amanda Canny.
People congratulating me, celebrating my resentment, applauding my fear, hands clapping, patting my belly, my heart pounding, the pressure of my blood pushing against the walls of my arteries. I'm growing a second heart when my own has been silenced. The baby is crying and I am unmoving. The nurse is tugging at my gown, telling me how to get the baby to latch onto my breast. My head is sinking. My own hands I can't feel, my own words I can't hear, kicking from inside, screaming coming out. Forced birth is deafening.
So you have to coordinate talent. I find my own features. So I found a feature in a spotlight for tonight. Asha is a feature. Amanda Canny's a spotlight. So we have poetry and music. So responsible for that. We do our own marketing. And then as far as setup, Busboys does a really great job of making sure the space is set up for us. So they do all the lighting and the sound and house music and everything like that. So that comes ready to go.
Bring it down!
I know I'm not there yet. I just need you to believe that I'll be there soon.
I want to see the world through your eyes. I ponder and ponder when God will hear my cries.
It is the hunger that scares me, that makes every male a competitor, even the married and chaste, from morning wood to wet dreams, every cell in his body.
So I wrote a book that I completely forgot to talk about last week. It's called Psyche. That's what she looks like. She's for sale. So it's a book that has to do with mental health.
Psyche, the book that I just published, is about a bipolar character that goes through mania and depression and then finding stability. So when I read from that book, I talk about that. I introduce myself that way when I'm talking in a show, whether it's Electric Euphoria or at Busboys. I want people who are different to know that it's okay to be different. I'm very proud of this part, and people keep not realizing that this is in the book, but I have a very long glossary with all the mythology figures. You do not need to Google a single thing. Everything is in here. I wrote it at that table over there. I wrote like most of the glossary in this bar. So the reason why I'm so stable now is because I lost my mind a few years ago after many years of not being on quite the right medicine. So on top of that, in June of 2021, a man broke into my apartment on the 9th day of me living there. It was my first time living alone. He held me at knife point for like 30 minutes, and nothing happened to me physically, but it was very traumatic. I had a psychotic break that night. I kind of like broke from reality, and I lost a lot of time before I was calling people. He took my phone. So it was this really awful night. For the first couple weeks after, I was in shock, and I get super manic at the end of July, and I spend from July through the following June really sick. I am manic, then depressed, kind of mixed, and then manic again. And I was working at a high school that I loved the kids at, that I got a lot of joy about the content area I was teaching creative writing. If I hadn't been teaching creative writing, I don't know what would have happened to me, because I could write with my students every day, and that was like a godsend. But I didn't have a classroom, so I had no space. I couldn't be alone throughout the entire day. The PTSD plus mania paranoia was so bad that I always thought someone was after me. I was suspicious about people conspiring at work. So that kind of stuff got really, really bad in the spring. And I'd be hallucinating at work when it got towards the end. And I didn't tell people. I did tell some friends, like I would joke about it. I always did it in a kind of funny way, like, oh, I heard this. And when I was at my cousin's, I heard somebody say Nurse Ratchet when no one was talking. And I heard doors all the time. And I heard the knife guy's voice. And I thought all of my friends towards the end were conspiring to lock me away. And then finally, somehow in my brain, I was like, if you're paranoid about them putting you in the hospital, maybe that's where you need to be. So like somehow my crazy brain put me there. I did partial hospitalization first, at Psychiatric Institute of Washington, and it was an amazing experience. It was a life-changing, life-saving experience. I'm so grateful to Amani Carter, who ran that program, and just all the love and support I got there, and also just meeting people like me. Like I was saying about community, right? Being around neurodivergence, it's literally a group full of people who are traumatized and neurodivergent. Is everybody there? But I am so thankful kind of to have lost my mind, because I feel so much better now.
I had one more person sign up. Please make some noise for Layla.
How I measure a successful open mic is I get someone to come up who wasn't going to, because at the beginning of a show, I go around and I introduce myself to everybody. And some people are like, oh no, I'm just watching, I write, but I've never done that. And I'm like, okay, well, you let me know if you change your mind. And I try and make them feel safe and like it's going to be a good space that I can generally, peg if they're a spicy brained person.
As I lay on this quilt, one hand on my throat, the other fussing with the seams, with an identity that can only be described as blame. I strip my head of hair and cloak my legs in shadowed growth in a way that can only be described as natural. After all, it's like my father says, to be Palestinian is a political statement.
Relief that it went well, right? And people seemed happy. Open mic was good. Yeah, and I sold a book, so that's great too. I can survive amid summer wildfires, where I can't see but still perceive, with singed hair and crimson eyes, mind and body constantly reeling in a throttling pulse I can never stop feeling. I can survive under winter darkness. When the ice rain is heavy, I am unsteady and my branches freeze and fall to the asphalt. I survive fires and floods, hurricanes and tornadoes, summer volcanoes, and the days and weeks without rain when the shakes begin to addle my brain, and long winter nights when the ice enters my bones and flash freezes me within my mind alone. I am still here.